everyone. Welcome to The Zest, the official podcast of Orange Coast Magazine. I'm Chelsea Ranieri, and today's guest is in her 29th season as the director and producer of Laguna Beach's Pageant of the Masters, which I have had the incredible opportunity of getting to attend to the past few years, and it is always absolutely amazing. Thank you so much for being here today, Diane Challis Davy.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. It's so funny. I think the first time I became aware of Pageant of the Masters was in an episode of Gilmore Girls, and then also Arrested Development. Yeah. And I've always loved that something so iconic from Orange County got picked up on these huge shows. So were you working when those were aired?
I was director of the pageant, and we did get a request to help out in a technical way or as artistic advisors. But unfortunately, our lease with the city of Laguna Beach prevented us from participating. So it was very flattering to us. We could not get involved, but a lot of people saw those episodes.
So cool. Well, for our listeners who may not be familiar with Pageant of the Masters, do you mind giving some backstory on it?
Well, sure. We're a unique kind of theatrical presentation. We are the living picture show here in Laguna Beach. And it started back in 1933 when the locals, the artists, had their own art festival and they needed a sideshow. They needed a way to attract more people to see the artwork and hopefully buy the artwork. So at the time in the 20s and 30s, posing it as masterpieces or living pictures was a game sort of like charades, something like that. It was a parlor game. So there were ladies and gentlemen back then who knew how to do living pictures. And so they started doing them and they were a big hit. So we've been doing them ever since. We became the Pageant of the Masters in 1935. A local builder and artist named Roy Ropp was the one who started it. And it's grown every year since then. Now, in the early days, we performed down on the boardwalk at Main Beach and in the downtown area. And then Roy Ropp was looking around for the perfect amphitheater because the crowds were growing and growing. So they picked this beautiful canyon location right here, 650 Laguna Canyon Road. And we have been here performing since 1941. We did take some years off for World War II, but every year we've been here since. And as far as technical aspects, it's a much different show than it was in the 30s and 40s. But nevertheless, the show is still centered around the living pictures.
I love that. Me and my husband have gone the past 4 years. And one of the years we were sitting next to this lady and she had been saying she'd been coming since she was a little girl. And she was since the 50s. Every single year, she never misses it. And I just love the tradition of it. And it's gorgeous in the canyon. When I try to explain it to my friends who haven't been, I'm like, it's kind of like going to Segerstrom outside in a canyon. Because it's such a production. It's not just art. It's like this whole production.
It's the atmosphere for sure with the trees around it. If you've ever been to Hollywood Bowl, it's tiny in comparison, or it's much like the Greek theater.
100%.
But the Greek theater is twice as big as we are. So it's an intimate space, gets the audience close enough to really be able to appreciate the art on stage.
100%. Well, let's go back to when you were in high school. You graduated as co-valedictorian, congratulations, from Laguna Beach High, and you were awarded a Festival of Arts Scholarship in Art and Drama. And then in college, you volunteered to be a pageant cast member. So what first inspired you to volunteer?
Well, what first inspired me was, I had seen the show as a little kid and loved it. But my brother was the one who first got involved with it. He ended up on stage crew. And, first he was a volunteer too. When he was 8 or 9 years old, he was posing in pictures. I, of course, was doing children's theater in downtown. So the pageant was my brother's thing. The children's theater was mine, but eventually I crossed over when I saw what a good time he was having. And I volunteered in 1976 when it was a bicentennial show. So I'll never forget that experience. It was a lot of fun. And I made a lot of friends backstage. And then when I graduated from college, I decided I would really like to work in my hometown. So there was a job opening as a costume stitcher, a wardrobe stitcher. So I did that for a few years.
Yeah. And not only were you a costume designer, you also were a scenic painter, assistant assistant director. So what were some of the pivotal moments that led you to becoming director in 1996?
Oh, well, first, I did have to demonstrate that I had some artistic talent other than stitching clothing. So I had always been interested in art because my dad ran an art gallery in Laguna Beach. Challis Galleries was his place. So I loved art and I could recreate paintings. So I had to prove that back in the early 80s. And I was given a huge set background to paint. And it took me several weeks, but I did it. And I impressed the director at the time enough for him to sort of promote me to assistant director. And that's what I did for about 10 years at the Pageant.
Oh my gosh, you've had such an incredible career there. Well, as the director, how early do you start planning each year's production and how do you guys land on a theme?
Well, I'm thinking about potential themes all the time in my daily life and trying to get a read on the zeitgeist of what is going on with pop culture. So that is really leading me to choose a theme. It has to be an all-encompassing theme so that we can have a big variety. We do start planning about a year in advance. So I have now picked a theme for 2026. And we have a volunteer research committee. And now that has grown to about over 100 people who are working backstage or volunteering backstage, and they want to get involved in the selection process. And so they do. We have a show and tell, kind of a party in September. And then after that point, it's up to me and the scriptwriter, Dan Dooling, to comb through all of these pieces that have been submitted, and we pick the best ones, and then we kind of go through that, calling it out, picking the most fun and most interesting living pictures. So it's a long process. So because we have to start building the show in January.
Oh, yeah, I can't even imagine. Like the amount of detail that goes into every production is insane. But also, how fun for your theme to get picked, because I loved the fashion one, but I think my favorite one was it was last year or the year before, where it was like Monet and all the iconic
art colony. We visited a Parisian art colony, but also we talked about the Harlem Renaissance. So we had the opportunity to do some African American art, and we had a gospel choir, which was just so much fun. And the music is a very big part of this show. It's not just people standing still for 90 seconds.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the orchestra. And also, I love the narrator's voice. And I didn't know that was live.
Yes, it is live. And that is Richard Doyle. Now, if you've ever been to South Coast Rep, chances are you've seen Richard Doyle in one of the plays, since he joined the company of South Coast Rep in the late 60s, just when it was being formed. So we are very fortunate to have this local Orange County legend reading the script for our show every night.
Yeah. Well, okay. Speaking of all the volunteers that you guys have, what goes into the training for the people who are holding still in the photo, in the painting? Because I don't know if I could do that. It looks so difficult. This is the thing.
If you came this evening at 7:30, and if you are the right height, we would give you a sub tag to wear. You would go right into the wardrobe backstage. You would get into a makeup shirt. Makeup artists who are also volunteers would apply your makeup for you. So you just sit there. It's like you're in the spa. And then you're led up to the stage. You're placed in the set. You're safety belted in. And then we have people telling you how to turn your head, how to pose and all that. And boom, the curtain opens, the lights are on, and you're on for 90 seconds, holding still. So you do not need any rehearsal whatsoever to be in the show. You could literally be picked up off the grounds as a complete unknown person. Hey, you're the right size. Can you come back and be in a living picture?
What? Do you guys do that?
Sometimes we do have to find somebody out on the grounds, or even somebody at intermission in the audience. It's happened a few times in the past.
Oh, my husband is going to hope and pray every single time that we go that that's him. Well, speaking of like the makeup, how do you guys get the makeup to look so much like it just blends in seamlessly with the art?
Well, every surface in that set, that tableau set, has to be painted. So the face, the skin is no different than the costumes because the costumes are all painted. Makeup, of course, we're now buying makeup over the counter, theatrical makeup, cream makeup. It's water based though, so it's very kind to your skin. And our volunteer makeup artists have quite a few training sessions so they can learn how to apply it. Comes off very easily with a little bit of Dawn liquid at the end of the night. So, and it is, you're right, it is a real art form to be able to apply the makeup to match the technique of the original artist who did the painting. So we want to make everything blend and look like it's an impressionist picture.
Yeah, there was one this year where a woman had, I think it was during the Builder series where they show how you guys build the sets.
Yes.
And her skirt was like, it was like this perfect stiff, did not move skirt. And I was like, wow, for some reason I didn't put together that it's like a fake skirt. Like
well,
it just
it's
so real.
Three-dimensional because it has to encapsulate the person. We found that just giving someone a skirt, the skirt not weighted would blow in the breeze, or if the cast member moved a little, the skirt is going to move. And what we want to do is we want to eliminate all the shadows. So if we can create a contoured shell and we can paint the highlight and shadow, we can paint the folds in. And this really improves the technique, the overall look of the living picture. It was a breakthrough we made about 20 years ago.
Oh, interesting. Well, okay. Well, with the sets, how long do they take to make? You said it took you about a few weeks to create one, but do you guys have what's the process of creating a set?
Well, it starts with an analysis of the picture by the tech director. He has drafting software and he will figure out the plans on his computer. That is handed over to the workshop. They build the set. They put it on casters on wheels so it can move around. There's a huge background canvas background that is probably, most of them are 12 or 13 feet tall. Sometimes our sets can be as wide as 26 to 28 feet wide. And they're almost always, they are 4 feet deep with a sloping foreground. See, I'm giving you all the secrets. This is how we build it. So your question is, how long does that take? So a few days to design, at least a week to build. It has to be primed. Then we take a slide projector. We project the image on the background. This is not inkjet printing or anything like that. But it ultimately, the scenic artist has to paint in all the details. And then that takes probably 2 or 3 weeks. And then making the costumes, bringing the cast members in, fitting their costumes on them, make sure that they're just right. And then we rehearse it at least 2 times. And we rehearse starting in February, every Thursday night. We're out in the bowl, doing the lighting, adjusting the costumes, all of that. So it's a very long process, starting in January till we open 5th of July, usually.
Do you guys keep all the sets and the costumes? I feel like it would be so hard throwing them away.
The costumes are made of cotton muslin. So after 60 or 70 wear-ins, we don't keep a lot of them. We keep a few special ones. The sets, the paintings, the backgrounds, we reuse elements over and over again. So it's quite a good thing. But, some of these set pieces probably have 15 layers of paint on them. We try to keep the sculptures. And we do have a storage facility, a 5,000-foot storage facility. So it's even more difficult and time-consuming to recreate the sculpture. And it's out of polystyrene most of the time. But we try to keep those because we don't want those going to waste.
Yeah. Oh my God. That sounds like you guys could open a museum with all of the history from.
That would be fun. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So is there anything that goes on backstage that listeners may not be aware of or may be surprised to know?
Well, one thing I always think about is just the pure joy and love that our volunteers have for being in the show. They really enjoy it. They have a great time. A lot of people worry about the time commitment, but we have 2 separate casts and they alternate weeks. So you will appear in the show 7 nights straight and then you have 7 nights off. That seems to even everything out. So nobody really feels that shortchanged on their holiday time. And even though kids are going back to school earlier and earlier in August, they still manage to fit in their pageant appearances, and they wake up in the morning to go to school because the show lasts until about 10:30 every night.
Yeah. The kids honestly are so impressive to me because they do such a good job holding for 90 seconds. Well, speaking about everything was live, has there ever been any hiccups during a live show? I personally have never seen one, but I would imagine over the course of 29 years, maybe there was a couple.
Yes, there are a few wardrobe malfunctions. Let's just say we've had that. We've had kids as young as 5 years of age, and sometimes they'll have an accident. That just happens every once in a while. Hopefully, they're not too traumatized. We are in the bowl right up against the Coast Wilderness Park. So sometimes we'll have wildlife. Last night you could hear coyotes howling in the distance, and you can just imagine that all the wildlife were living right next to. So that intrudes from time to time. Technically speaking, you can have things fail, or you just pick up and move on, but fortunately nothing catastrophic. I think the worst thing we've had happen is cancellations because of rain, and as you know, those storms are few and far between, but when we get hit with a storm, it's a whopper. Like, we can have thunder and lightning, so we do have to abandon the show if there's a heavy downpour.
Oh, that would suck. And those poor kids wetting themselves. They would need therapy after that. I'm like, I'm never going on stage again.
Right.
Well, are there any other backstage memories or any favorite memories from shows in the past that you want to share?
Well, some of the live music and singing is so memorable to me, and we've had dance and sort of parades. One year we did a full-on Mardi Gras parade. It was just beautiful. Last year, you mentioned the show about fashion. We did our version of a Met Gala red carpet ceremony. This year we do a tribute to Hearst Castle, and I just love going to Hearst Castle and seeing everything there. Well, we are recreating scenes from the 1930s that we're sort of making William Randolph Hearst and Marion Davies come to life. And those moments to me are magical because we're telling the story in such a beautiful and elegant way. There's that. Also from this year, we are doing a tribute to Helena Modjeska. Now, does that name ring a bell to you?
No.
Well, out near Silverado Canyon in Orange County, there's Modjeska Canyon. And a lot of people don't know why it's named after Modjeska. In fact, in Saddleback Mountain, one of the peaks is called Modjeska Peak. Now, why is that? We tell you why in our pageant, and we talk about the great Polish actress who lived here in Orange County. She lived in what is now Modjeska Canyon. She came here from Poland, went to Anaheim, and she was going to be a farmer, but that didn't work out. She was an actress, so she went up to San Francisco, and they discovered her acting talent there. And then she spent the next 3 decades touring Shakespeare and other great plays all over the United States. So she was like she was like the Meryl Streep of the late 19th century. And so we get to share that story. Now, maybe a lot of people don't know that her house that she lived in she called her estate Arden after Shakespeare's play. And a lot of people don't know that it's a state park and you can visit it. You can go to see her house, and it's in a beautiful setting in the oak trees. It's right next to the creek. It's sort of on the way to the bird sanctuary, if you've ever been out that way. But
No.
there's a lot to see up there in those foothills of Saddleback Mountain. Anyway, I hope to go out to Arden and see the Majeska House in September, because I hear they're going to be open. Until then, they're going to do some renovations. So this is what gives me joy, is to tell people stories about art and artists that nobody would even know about if they hadn't come to see the pageant.
Yeah. My husband and I were like, we have to like remember all of the museums that they're visiting, because I only knew like LACMA and like Orange County Museum of Art.
Yes.
Like there's so many more museums where I was like, we need to remember all of these and write them all down.
Right. The Bowers Museum, the UCI Irvine, Langston Museum of California Art, and the Hilbert Museum, which is in Orange, which just only opened a year ago. And we're doing 5 paintings from the Hilbert collection. And by the way, that a little plug for Mark Hilbert and Chapman University, it's free. So you just go online and you can book a visit and see this wonderful collection of California art.
Yeah, I went to Chapman, so I definitely need to go see that.
Oh, you did? Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
It's right next to the diner and the train tracks. And there's, free parking, and it's just fabulous. He has a collection of 5,000 pictures. Only some of them are on exhibit at any one time. But these are artists that I grew up with in my dad's gallery, and I'm really familiar. Artists like Phil Dyke and Rex Brandt and Roger Kuntz and Millard Sheets, many of them. So with this year's show, Gold Coast, we're opening up this whole world of California art museums, and we hope that a lot of people will decide that it's time to drive over there and take a look.
Definitely. That you guys sold me. Well, you also included some statues from Dana Point's Waterman's Plaza.
Yes, those are an awful lot of fun, because those sculptures, they're just right on Coast Highway. They're by Bill Limebrook, and they're phenomenal. They're beautiful statues of surfing legends, surfing champions. And one of the, I think 4 we recreate is this a duo of Steve and Barry Bainey. Now, they were famous for being tandem surfing champions. Well, he made a skateboard, and Steve would carry his wife above him while he's riding the skateboard, slaloming down the asphalt paved street. And Bill Limebrook, the sculptor, he's from Lake Elsinore. Anyway, he did this recreation of their stunt, which is Steve carrying Barry above his head. And when the audience sees that recreated, they literally gasp, because it's so unexpected.
Yeah, that's so cool. I love that you guys included so many Orange County pieces as well, but it's definitely worth checking out. But is there anything else that you want to shout out for this season or next season to get listeners excited?
This season or next? Well, next season, I'm really looking at the masters, new and old masters. And we're focusing on the life stories of various artists who I consider the top, maybe the top 20 artists. It's called, the theme is the greatest of all time. To borrow a phrase that's very much in pop culture right now, the GOAT, the greatest of all time. So that's what next year's going to be. But I want to encourage everybody to check out this pageant. It runs through the 29th of August. Tickets are available. My personal recommendation is don't waste money sitting really close. Sit in the middle, but sit a little farther back. And why is that? It's because we recreate sculptures and art all over the bowl, all over the amphitheater. And to really see the whole panorama and see the beauty of the atmosphere of the place, you want to sit a little farther back, maybe main tier or upper tier. And the seats are more reasonable, especially on weekdays. There's some very good deals going on right now. So we want you to see this show in particular, because we want everybody to be proud of the art that is right here in California.
I love that. It definitely made me feel you completely accomplished your goal, because my husband and I are so proud and like inspired to go see all these different museums. But well, we are coming to the end of our time. But before I let you go, I have 3 final questions for you that we call the Thoughtful 3.
All right.
So first, what advice would you give to someone when they find themselves outside of their comfort zone? You work with so many people that are amazing and do that all the time.
Well, I think for an artist, it's essential to be a little bit outside of your comfort zone. And with personal experience, I try to push the envelope of what the pageant, what is expected from the pageant. I try to do new and surprising things. And when you do that as an artist, it's a risk because you may fail. So I don't think anybody who wants to aspire to be an artist should not be afraid of failure.
Yes. Ooh, I love that. Well, what was the best advice that you received when you were first starting out at Pageant of the Masters?
I think that would be from my mentor, the former director of the pageant, Glenn Etchison. And when he retired and I came on board as director, he said, "Dee, you have the power. Use it."
Oh, that's so sweet. That's really great advice. Well, lastly, what moments in your career have had the most significant impact on who you are today?
Can you repeat that question one more time?
What moments in your career have had the most significant impact on who you are today? Has there been any moments that have shaped you as a person?
Yes. I think coming back to Laguna, I had worked in England a little bit just as a lowly wardrobe dresser and a prop maker. Cool. So I dabbled in that. I came back to Laguna thinking, I really should go to art school or get a master's degree. I should travel the world. But I did get a job here as a stitcher, but I stuck with it from year to year, and that turned out to benefit me, because if I had left my hometown, I would not have been given this great opportunity to be director. And this is my 30th year directing Pageant of the Masters. And I love having the opportunity to come up with a new theme every year and make the selections and build a show around that, and work on storytelling and expression and just trying to entertain people. It's just a great opportunity. So I would just say thank the Lord that I stayed in my hometown. And I kind of feel like it's, the movie It's a Wonderful Life, and George Bailey, he felt like he couldn't get out of town. Well, I'm just like George Bailey at the end of the movie. I'm glad I stayed in my hometown.
Oh, I love that so much. And I'm glad you did too, because you put on the most incredible shows. It is like, for me, it feels like that's the start of summer. I look forward to it every single year, and I can't wait to keep going every year. So thank you for coming on and sharing your story. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Chelsea.